Yo, yep, here we go. LOVE, learning orchestrates vital evolution. By any other name, is the aggressive pursuit of improvement. We're here to spread love and improvement, right? You got the quantum mechanics. You got me and my guy here.
Yo, yo.
Once again, it's on, as they say. So, what we want to do tonight, today, right now, however you are, wherever you are, whatever's happening at this moment, receiving this broadcast, we want to talk about the differences in education, indoctrination, and how it relates to development on both ends. I really like this topic because I feel I have a certain thing that I feel about education and indoctrination. So I want to get the definitions out the way, and then I want to do maintenance on these ideas in a large sense and in the quantum sense, as we always say. So, my brother Matt, hit us with the science.
Right on, right on. So, education, the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally of preparing oneself or others intellectually for mature life. The result produced by instruction, training, or study, the science or art of teaching. And then indoctrination, the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically, to instruct in a doctrine, principle, ideology, to imbue with specific partisan or biased belief or learning. And a doctrine is basically a body or a system of teachings relating to a particular subject. So when I read both of those, what came to my mind was development, and how I think development is completely different than both of those types of understandings where a person can essentially quote unquote learn something. So when I went to development is what we want. Development is what we want to strive for, personal development. So the definition for development is to bring out the capabilities or possibilities of, bring to a more advanced or effective state, to develop natural resources, one's musical talent, those are examples, to cause, to grow or expand, to evolve, to elaborate or expand in detail, generate, evolve, to transfer the details from one surface to a prismatic or cylindrical to another surface. So I feel like development, just in that definition alone, it gives you so many possibilities. Every word in that definition is potentiality.
Right.
You know, so I think striving for development itself would precede education, because education is a part of indoctrination. So if you're being indoctrinated, you're being indoctrinated by someone who has a prior education in something else.
Right.
You know,
right.
Just like last time we was talking about personal wars. Personal wars are essentially personal developments.
Right.
You know, and they're in that order.
Right.
So yeah, I was just thinking about how all of this shit relates to mind control, and how highly scripted television and movies are. You know, I took a film class a long time ago, and I really delved into what they have. Whoever's directing the movie and whoever's producing the movie have a certain understanding of how they want this shit to look. So even in the background, every picture is angled at a specific angle with specific types of light to make you feel a specific type of way, you know. And if what basically we all exist as electrical signals. And the
Right.
physical body is a receptor of those signals, as well as a battery, like a storage unit for various electrical signals. You got cosmic signals coming in. You have protons and electrons that are being passed from person to person, through we're basically the cells of the planet, like we said last time.
Right.
But those certain currents that come in under these frequencies, you can channel those. Like you can tune into those frequencies, just as people tune into this show. People who aren't on the same frequency as us would not be able to download this. You know what
Right.
I mean? And
Right.
when you outside of the vibration, you tend to have like bad experiences. When you outside of your personal native state of vibration, you could basically say, I'm having a bad day, or I'm not feeling this shit. And that's because you out of sync. Everything is all about syncing up.
Right.
And essentially, how we said last time that we could be planets, we actually have more charge and potentiality than the planet itself. But because we live on the planet in the physical body, we are under the vibratory rate of the planet,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right.
So right. So we basically we gather cosmic information from the sun rays, photon rays, and those can be converted into electrons, protons, neutrons, and those pass from the universe through us, through other bodies, and that's information. Light is information.
Right. So now look,
Um, mm-hmm,
now based on what you're saying right now, we always look at it from the context in which we speaking. So I'm going to do this in the context within which we speaking. So, like you said, if we taking in the sun rays and this cosmic information, that would constitute our development
right.
because
The eyes, the
we're
eyes are
being
black holes. The
we're
eyes
being
are essentially black holes.
yeah. Well,
They
we're
turn the
being
infinite into the quantum. They turn the infinite amount of lights and rays that you see into a finite quantum form. That's what your
right,
light, that's what your eyes do. That's why your pupils are dark black like that.
right. So this is what I'm saying. So okay, I can take that right there. A black hole captures light, brings it in, and it's never to be released again, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So in that sense, what we understanding is our existence here is a development. As you
mm-hmm,
said, we're on this planet and we spring forth from the planet. But the reality is the planet can only birth other planets. So we are planets.
mm-hmm.
So right now we are under the logic of the planet, true enough. But the solar system birthed the planet. The planet has a potentiality to be a solar system, right?
I'm with you.
The solar system has the potentiality to be a galaxy because it came from a galaxy, right? And the
Mm-hmm,
galaxy has a potentiality to be a universe because it came from a universe. Saying that to say, so if we're getting information coming from the universe and it's coming into our eyes as black holes, and the information is being trapped inside of us, that means that is our development. So under this pretense, that is our development, which we are being indoctrinated, right? And educated from the universe. Now, if we are growing and developing under this doctrination, which is to be what? To be bigger than what we are. But, like you say, we get trapped by what? We get trapped by, like you say, the TV, this, that, and the third. What do we understand? I'm watching TV and I'm listening to what you're saying. So when we talking education, we talking indoctrination, we talking all of this stuff, it makes me look and say, the director is really a wizard,
mm-hmm,
sorcerer, right?
mm-hmm.
Because you're saying, or not because you're saying, but because that's how it works, right? They're using different lights and different tones and different arrangements, right? Bending
Mm-hmm.
reality, which I perceive as to be true.
Right.
To make me
And the thing
feel,
is that
to make me
through an
feel,
education,
look,
mm-hmm,
to make me feel as though I'm sad, I'm happy, right? It's bending this, right? Based on what's going on around me, right? So
mm-hmm,
these people who create these movies, we see them as directors and producers, but these are all wizards and sorcerers. And I'm not saying that in any type of malicious fashion, because that's indoctrination. For me to see it and then say, well, they're wizards or warlocks, but we can only see it from the negative aspect, right?
They would have to be conscious.
But
I
what
mean,
I'm
I'm not
saying,
saying that.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
based on how people have predisposed ideas of witches and warlocks and all of this stuff, right? We already see it as negative, but in the reality, to do that is the basis of what everything is going on around us.
Right. That's a way of looking at it, and that's a defined way of looking at it, and that's not a bad way of looking at it. But you can look at it also. Let's say some people have malicious intent behind what they're doing, but everybody has an intent behind what they're doing.
Right,
Whoever comes up with
right,
the idea,
right, right,
and then the person
right,
follows that idea, then the person who follows that idea is under the control of the person who came up with the idea.
right.
So essentially, when you go to the movies, for example, you're agreeing to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go to this movie and I'm gonna let the experience take me wherever it's gonna take me," and I'm gonna enjoy the movie.
Right.
But again, going back to the definition of indoctrination, the process of teaching a person, a group, to accept a set of beliefs, uncritically. That means you're not thinking critically about, okay, what is this information that they're giving me?
Right. Right
Like
there.
this.
But right
Mm-hmm.
there, this is what I'm saying. And this is where when we people talk and we talk about stuff, this is where I kind of move away from, because a lot of our conversations and people, we say they and them and they're doing this and they're doing that, right? But we have to also understand that if that instrument is being used, it can also be wielded by you.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
understand me?
that's exactly right, because if you receive information but you don't know what it is, then you're a slave to that information,
Okay.
right? But if you receive information and you understand what it is, then you're the master of that information.
Right.
So a lot of times, people that are savvy, even if it's an adult talking to a kid, or if it's a marketing agent of a major corporation designing commercials, or if it's a producer of a major movie company that's making a full length feature, what happens is that they use semantics
Mm-hmm.
to conjure up different feelings in people and different understandings of people, because semantics is basically the blending of symbols and the blending of meanings, and it's kind of like bringing two worlds together. So it's like I said, like a person could read a book, both of y'all read the same book, but are going to take different things away from it. I used to say that about music. Like when you riding in a car and you think the song say one thing, and forever you be saying that the song say it like that until you see the lyrics one day. You be like, oh, that's what they saying. But see, for you, it meant what it meant, and the artist who produces the song doesn't. It doesn't. They have a way that they want the song to be presented, but they're just glad you're listening to it. You know what I mean? For
Right.
whatever
Right.
reason, maybe
Right.
they do want to do some mind control. Okay, but play
Right.
the song backwards, see what they
Right.
say, or
Right.
maybe they just want you to have fun to the song regardless. That's why songs, when they're made, they have to go be mastered,
Right.
right? Just like I
Right.
said, if you don't know the information that you're receiving, then you're a slave to it. But if
Right.
you understand the information, then you're the master of that information, and you can
Right.
manipulate it and flip it however you want it to go.
But like,
So that's mm-hmm.
yeah. But like in that sentence, in that same breath, right? When we say that, you hear the music or you hear this, and you know, all these years you heard it and you thought what you heard was something else, but really you heard something else, right? Really you was hearing something else, but you thought it was whatever it is you was hearing. That's what you thought it was, but you was really hearing something else. That makes me say, like I'm saying, when I hear a lot of things, I step back out of it, because a lot of the stuff that we hear and people saying that people is being victimized by works the same way. I know a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things that people tell me for a long time are things I believe my whole life. And people say, well, that ain't true, whatever. And I researched it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get into particular things, because I don't have to get particular about any of this, right? I don't have to tell you, oh, well, your religion is fake or this. I don't have to do that, because it doesn't matter. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? What matters is the structure that you use that fires this or activates this information. That what matters, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is it was things in my life that I learned. Could have been religion, could have been things I read at school, I learned, and I found out they was false,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I started saying to myself, well, if you lived your whole life and you thought this was true, right? And you gained things and you lost things, and you thought all this was true, then that means I can make up anything to be the truth at this point because I
You can
lived
do
my
that.
whole life on a lie.
You
So
can do
why
that once you
so
break the
why am
spell,
I verifying what is the truth?
right? You
You see
have to
what I'm
have a
saying?
measuring.
Why
You
am I
have to have
searching? What I'm saying is, why am I searching for the truth? Why am I
because
searching for this? Because
you
I can make anything true. My whole
right, but
life
you have to have a
has
measuring
been a
stick though.
discourse of making things that wasn't true true.
But you wouldn't know that until you break the spell of that. And you have to have a measuring stick that you go by. You know what I mean? That those are your principles to help you
That's
come to
what
this
I'm saying.
decision.
What
You're
I'm
speaking
saying
something
is,
that mhm.
what I'm saying is, here at this point, we're talking this, and this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that people where we are right now, what we're saying, we have to speak in that term about this type of stuff. Like, how long is somebody gonna tell you what you believe ain't true?
How many times can you be lied to if you don't know the truth?
Right. So
The
how
thing is that
how are you
mhm.
how is a point when you have to say this, what am I believing? If I'm talking to you and you talking to me, right? And I'm genuinely trying to understand what you're saying. You see what I'm saying? Then that means that I've already come to the conclusion that something that I think ain't real.
Right.
If I'm genuinely trying to understand what you're saying.
Right.
You get
Understanding
what I'm saying?
the word understanding and the possibility of understanding is subjective to
Right.
each person that you come across. So whatever the potential understanding for this person, be like, man, I'm trying to understand you on whatever level that they're on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mental
This is what
capacity.
I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. So if it's subjective, then the fact that somebody is saying that I'm being a slave to this information or I'm being indoctrinated into this particular thing, it can't be, and they can't wake up from it because the reality is they can't see it in this way.
Right. What I'm saying, the mental capacity of a person is key.
Right.
And by that, I mean, is like you have so many things that arrest your development.
Right.
It's not just a group. It's not
Right.
just a rap group. It's a real thing because if you don't have the ability to advance your mental understanding of things, if you're handicapped, by your cell phone, by Google, by all of these fast, quick fixes, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's so many fast, quick fixes and options for people that they don't understand how to develop that mental capacity to think critically, to
Here's
hold
what I'm
all of these.
saying. Here's what I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying. We're saying that,
mm-hmm.
but people have been bamboozled since the beginning of time.
Right. I think
Without
those.
cell phones, without all of this technology, what I'm getting
Mm-hmm,
at is this.
mm-hmm,
I used to listen to a lot of stuff, me personally, and I used to say, man, they. I don't like prefacing the prefix of they because that to me I'm making myself a victim, right? But that's me. But when I'm listening and I'm hearing this, I have to say as well that people from the beginning of time or beginning of consciousness, I can't say from the beginning of time, but the beginning of this particular consciousness we have subscribed to. at the beginning of this consciousness have been bamboozled. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have NFL football. They didn't have none of this. And they've still been, quote unquote, misled, misguided, that led us down the street. So there has been various different forms of them following this information. So it says to me that even though we split education and indoctrination up, the reality is that some people need to be indoctrinated.
People definitely want to be a part of a group.
Some people need to be indoctrinated because everybody can't critically think for themselves.
Right. It's very comfortable to be a part of a group. It's a lonely feeling.
I don't think it's got comfortability to do with it, man. I think that people can't, because it would be counterproductive to the existence under this consciousness that we in right now. I saw a dude on the internet. Listen, let me say why I'm saying this. I saw a dude on the internet, and he was crying about him having to work and, you know, all of the stuff that we talking about. Oh, this, you know, indoctrination, and I don't think life should be this hard, this, that, and the third, and saying all of this stuff. He was on break from work. He's in his car breaking down. But you're in your car, on your phone, posting it on the internet. If that was the case, and you felt the way you really felt, you could leave society and go live in the woods. Right?
I'm with you.
Right? So who wants, because you can always get off the plane in Costa Rica and run off into the jungle.
Yeah, but then people have a herd mentality, man. It's easier to, that's why people,
this is what I'm saying. I don't think it's a whole thing of people saying, you know, we're being forced into this. I think the herd mentality is there because the majority of the people will do it. I think that the idea of the control of the herd, because they're always going to be a herd. It's always going to be one. I don't think it's a way out.
Yeah, cell phones are a clear-cut example of handicapping people, because whenever they developed this type of technology, people thought it was liberating and it gave you the ideas and the actions that you needed immediately. But at the same time, it's dumbed everyone down. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to create classes of people where you have people that are determined, purposeful, you know, highly skilled, prosperous, elite people. And then you have other people that are just lazy, unemployed, destitute. That's going to be the majority, because not everybody's going to end up being the highly driven person, you know. So that alone creates two different genres of people. And what they want to do is try to level it out. They're trying to level out the playing field. So stupidity will be celebrated in order to keep people down.
Here's
you know,
what
television.
I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. Even in that motif, there's always been a warrior class and a farming class.
There's
those two types been that.
You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, even though those are two types of people, those two people are still gonna fall under the highly skilled, prosperous class versus the no skilled.
Right. Exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's so much as malicious as it's just the transmogrification of the actual motif.
What happens is you want to be separated. You want to be acknowledged for your dedication to whatever craft that you're honing. And in order to be acknowledged for that and to be exalted and lifted up to certain degrees of that understanding and that knowing, you need to be a part of a group that can acknowledge you. But you don't want to be acknowledged by average stupid people, because you're always going to excel past them, and they're always going to be looking up to you, you know? So you have like people like that are like economists, people that work in
Right.
certain
Well, this
industries.
is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Look at this. In a tribe, when they used to have the warriors and all of that, a young brave, or whatever you want to call them, aspired to be the great warrior. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The the great warrior aspired to be the great chief. Right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we only understand the constraints of dumb and this and that by the consciousness we're under right now. But the same separation is always going to be there. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying from just the way it's breaking down, it's like this. I go to work, and I'm taking classes. I go to classes about, you know, driving and safety and stuff like that. And in the class, they're telling you that no matter what you tell people, they're still going to be unsafe. They're still going to do it. So you have to understand the extent to which that group that's there is a fundamental part of this existence. It's fundamental. So the difference in the group and these people who step out is they're functioning under their own ability. Now, those people in that group have to make the decision. If they can't think for themselves in that capacity, well, they need to be able to distinguish or find what's the best idea for them. I was talking to kids, or telling them, well, if you're not a leader, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Everybody said, you got to be a leader. You got to be a leader. Everybody is not. Because then if that's the case, who are you leading, right? But you have to be able to know and distinguish what information to follow that applies or that's conducive to you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, any type of celebration of averageness, that's an egalitarian society. That's where you accept averageness to where people will be subservient in that regard. Like everybody gets a trophy, or we all have to accept each other. We all have to be. Well, everybody can't be a leader, but really, everyone should be a leader in their own regard, in their own terms.
Exactly. But good
Because
leaders are good followers, is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is it's breaking down in the idea that you have to be a leader, but you haven't even understood the parameters of leadership. What I'm beginning to understand or beginning to see is that a lot of the stuff that's going on around us is not necessarily bad as much as we are attacking something that we are creating to be our opposition. Because if that's the case, that same guy who's saying that he don't want to go to work, he don't want to do this, he don't want to do that. Well, if we didn't have this fact, first of all, you on your phone. You don't need phones. You don't need TV. You don't need this car. You don't need none of this. But who's going to do that? Nobody.
that's what goes right. That's why I say people want to be a part of a group.
Who's going to go out into the wilderness and start farming for themselves? Nobody is going to go do that. So we're here in our minds, we're going to tear down the system. But for what? To what avail?
Well,
What are you going to do?
those are called revolutions, and revolutions do happen when people who are in these groups feel so deterred, you know what I'm saying, and so rejected that
Here's
they
what I'm
have to stand.
saying. We're going after these things, right? But the thing about indoctrination is, even if we do have a revolution, we would then have to indoctrinate the people to the new system.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
think
not going nowhere.
technology is forcing people, because what happens with smart people is that smart people end up finding easier ways to do things and faster ways of doing things, to where they become so efficient that people get left behind and there's no position for people. You know what I'm saying? Like, people get laid off because now we know how to do it better, faster, easier. And people who aren't ambitious, who aren't prosperous and highly skilled, those people will get even more, emasculated, rejected by society, to the point where they have to stand up. But they're going to be so dumbed down from all these handicaps that have been given to them. TV goes down to the lowest level and displays what the average would want to see. You know what I mean? TV is made
Mm-hmm.
so many people can enjoy it, not
Right,
just so
right, right,
certain people can enjoy it. So if a lot of people are going to enjoy it, then it's not always going to be intellectual.
right,
Like, Seinfeld was a good show, but it was an intellectual show. So a lot of people didn't like it. You know what I mean? So it wasn't TV for everybody. But now they're making TV for everybody, because TV is the mind control medium. It's the fucking key.
right. Here's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just with that right there. Now, if everybody, if so, look, if we're saying that that's how people are indoctrinating and manipulating people, then in the first place, who told them not to like an intellectual show like Seinfeld? So I have to start measuring this information after a while, right? And say, well, they don't like this. I have to give them what they want.
That's like some government type shit. So the government will make people equal as much as they can, because smart people, let's look at it this way. Smart people and stupid people, whenever they try to communicate, they're gonna get their signals crossed. And like I said, if smart people are having all the jobs, and they're doing the best that they can at these jobs, and they're making the jobs more easy, things are becoming automated with technology and stuff like that, then the people who aren't ambitious like that, who aren't progressively learning. That's why I say, like, people who are in economics, people who are in the airlines, railroads, communications, manufacturing, those type of jobs are the high intellectual jobs. You know what I'm saying? Those people end up running the world. And as far as like the average person, the person that maybe works at a grocery store or does something that doesn't really require a lot of mental energy, those people end up losing their jobs. And people without jobs create havoc. And those same people have jealousy and envy of the people who do have. And then you have a situation where you're asking, they're either going to have a revolution, or they're gonna pass these types of laws to help them be equal to the people that do have. So we're going
Right,
to tax the rich. We're
right,
gonna, that's where the
right,
government comes in, because the government
right,
wants you to feel dejected and rejected by society, and like you don't have a place or a purpose, and you can beg them after all the pain to step in and help you and to make things right. So all these selected ass leaders, the presidents, the senators, the governors, Congress people, all these selected ass leaders can come in and give the people what they want, so they don't revolt. So there is no revolution, but revolutions are necessary because it breaks the spell that binds, the spell that
look,
keeps people.
but here's what I'm saying. Even with that, not even with that, that's the truth. But here's the thing. Everywhere you go in nature, it's the same thing. We're saying it's the government is hating these people, right? But they don't. The
It's
reality
not
is
hating them;
this.
they're using them as tools.
The reality is this. In a beehive, you have worker bees, you have soldier bees, you have the queen, you have you understand what I'm saying? That's the reality. And the problem is we don't have no pride in the hive, right? Because we when we have our government, whether the government is good or bad, it doesn't matter. We can bring it down, we can hate it, we can destroy it. But when we do that and we come to our new nation or our new on the other side of that revolution, that same motif is going to have to be instituted again. They're going to have to be worker bees again. They have to, but you're going to have pride in the hive.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is
you're going to have an understanding of what it is that we are and what it is that we're doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's beyond indoctrination. That's beyond your education. You see what I'm saying? We don't have pride in the hive no more. We don't have pride in, because guess what? If I'm sweeping the floor, like you said, I feel emasculated or I feel dejected, right? But the garbage man is just as much a part of this nation as the rocket scientist.
Right.
You see what I'm
pride
saying?
in the hive is going to be pride in yourself, because then you know that you are a part of the hive. So
right.
If you're looking at it that way, so we aren't teaching people how to develop personal development. That's where we're coming back to development, because we're educating them on a surface level with the wrong type of keys to the house that they can't get in.
Right. You know, now look at this. Now, if everybody had that pride in the hive, had the pride in themselves, all the worker bees would go, they're still gonna be worker bees.
Right, but they would see no difference between them and the queen or the king.
My God.
There isn't supposed to be a difference.
Because yeah, I'm listening. I'm saying right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, because, the king or the queen is only a representation of every other person in the kingdom.
Right.
That's all it is. They're not higher. Right. What's been done is that they've categorized people and separated them. And in that separation, when you see the reflection, if it's not yours, then you're comparing yourself to it.
Right.
When you see your own reflection, then you're analyzing yourself.
Now, that's self-education.
If you can see yourself in others, then you're just utilizing that as a tool to better yourself. But if you don't see yourself in others and you see the separation, then that creates the jealousy, the envy, the coveting. And when you covet,
that's destroying our hive. That's destroying.
What happens is when you covet, then you hate. And when you hate, then there's conflict.
Right.
So while they're trying to show us how different we are and then reverse that, they're doing counterintelligence. They're doing counterintelligence work on it, just like if a spy or CIA or whatever, they come into another country, they're going to take whatever information that's been given out and they're going to jump on the bandwagon with it. Just like we talked about last time, where people come in and you could be talking about consciousness and then somebody else comes in talking about consciousness. So now they're on the same level, but then they go extreme with it. That's counterintelligence. They're magnifying an aspect of it to where it makes you look ludicrous because you're a part of it. When you initiated it from the ground up, from the grassroots up, any type of grassroots movement, it's dangerous for the elites at the top because it's coming from something within. Whereas the elites at the top would like to give you every movement that you have in some way. They want to put it on your mind.
Right.
So when you don't see yourself and others, and that goes back to loving yourself and then loving yourself enough to see yourself in others and then loving that other person as if they were yourself. If you don't see yourself in others, then there's that separation in those categories. And then you don't feel like you're a part of something. And people want to feel like they're a part of something. That's why people still wear masks, because it made them
the hack. The hack is you got to love yourself.
Right.
Because if I love myself, I can be a janitor. Right? because everything I do is going to extend to you. I'm going to clean this place up because I think cleanliness is next to godliness. Not because I think this represents me as a person. I think that what I'm doing represents the light I'm shining, represents my morals, represents my values, represents my principles as a being, as a member of the existence, right? But when we get into a lot of these things, man, this is what I'm saying. I think our consciousness, right? Our consciousness gets in the way. And so we always got to do this interplay of us against them, they against us, and we got to vilify something. But when the reality is, no matter how it plays out, no matter what happens, on the other side of it is going to be the same people in this world.
The whole world is set up like the damn Truman Show. You know, they want you, when you go to school, they always want you to do your best, right? So they can gauge where you're at and then figure out the proper handicap to put on your ass.
Listen, you know, what I'm saying is, even with that, say we tore it down and it didn't exist no more. Some people would still have to be farmers. Some people would still have to be the organizers of work. Some people would still have to be those who communicate with other villages. The same thing would still have to exist. In primitive cultures, they still had the same hierarchies.
The thing about primitive cultures is that I think what's happened over the years is that the world was one. No matter where you went, people was under the same science because the world was one. You know, there was astrology, right. There was communications. Everybody had the same drives and desires. And then what they needed to do was to control the world. They had to separate us. So then they separated us based on this, that, whatever, commerce, different transactions, different ways to maneuver throughout the world. They separated us from the wholeness and the oneness that we were. But no matter where you're from, if you was an Olmec, if you was an Egyptian, if you was an Oriental, we was all one because we all had the same things driving us. So in order to take over the world, the small elite group.
This is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Scratch them. That right there, what we just talked about right there, that's where we need to be individually. As I'm talking across from you, as we talking on this system, we need to get back to the love of the hive because all of those people still exist today.
That's what I'm saying.
Even that's if that's what I'm saying. Scratch the them and they because we can't.
No. Let me finish my concept. Let me finish my concept of what I'm trying to lay down for you.
Yeah.
What happened was when we was one as a whole community, as a planet, you could say, they had to figure out because again, it's not a lot that think on these levels because they're not required to or they don't have the drive to. So the people that think on this higher level had to divide and conquer. So what they did was create separation. And then in a roundabout way, now we have a global world again. They're trying to unite the world again, but under a different understanding of this unitedness. They're using the internet and all these global systems to reunite the world. But in order to be a part of this reunited world or this quote unquote reunited hive, you have to be subscribed to their acceptance. This egalitarian society, this equality, like everybody gets a trophy. Boys can pretend that they women and compete against women. You have to, if you want to come back to the hive, it's a new hive that they created because they separated the old hive. And now that you feel the separation, there's a longing for everyone on the planet to be a part of a group. So you have your individual nations that are groups, but then they want to bring all those nations together. That's why they have the G20 meeting, and that's why they have NATO, because it's lonely being by yourself. Even if you're a whole nation, it's lonely because you have different things like the television and internet to make you want to be a part of something greater. And they're saying, okay, if you want to be a part of this greaterness that we're showing you, then you have to be a part of this type of hive concept where you accept transgenderism, where you accept all of these, pedophilia type of things, where it's, oh, it's love is love type of shit. You have to accept all of that to be a part of this new hive.
Right.
So in order to break that chain itself, there has to be an ultimate revolution of a world scale, because that's what they did on the world scale. They separated us as a wholeness, and now they're saying, now you want to be back together. This is the science that you need to come under.
Right. What I'm saying is that may be true. Be that as it may. Back down to what I can do and what the practical can do is you have to get back to the love of the hive. The original premise of you and what you're doing. Because they, them, this, we can't even prove that that exists.
Yeah, but the hive that you're trying to love is so separated.
I'm not, this is what I'm saying. This it's looking, because the hive is within you. If you can love yourself and love what you're doing, you are the hive.
Right, right.
You're embodying what it is to be together. And whatever that is, whether we can't prove it.
No, it's not about proving it.
What I'm saying is we can't prove it. All we can do is argue on it.
It's not about proving it or the defining who they or them is. It's not about that. It's about understanding the full concept of
this is what I'm saying. So when we get back down to the smallest level, we understand that if that's the apparatus that they're using on a large scale, macro, micro, I can use it on my personal scale. I got the same dexterity over this information. Now, if I get down to enjoying and loving what I'm doing, now I'm creating the person that can be able to function on if there is a time when this thing comes down. If it is or if it isn't. If it does come down, I still have to be the person who can perform this function on the other side of this revolution. I still have to be a janitor on the other side. I still have to be a delivery man on the other side. But I hate my surroundings right now. I hate myself because I'm a garbage man.
Right. The system is correct.
Without, this is what I'm saying, with or without the system, we're still going to need garbage men.
Yeah, you can say the system is correct, but the people who run the system are not.
Right. This is what I'm getting at. Now, that part of us is what we have to focus on, right? Because they can't, but on the others, this is what I'm saying, that dude that was crying in the car, even if you don't have to do this, you still have to do some work.
We're born into this reality, but we control the outcome. We might be born into situations or whatever, but we ultimately control the outcome.
That's what I'm
saying. You have to empower people with the ability to develop itself, because that definition.
But what I'm saying is to hate and to be bitter and inflamed by where you're at doesn't do you any justice for where you need to be.
Yeah, the science.
Because everywhere I go, the only thing I can take is the hatred of me.
Yeah, the science to that is that you would want everybody to be the same. Like if somebody's doing better than you or whatever, the science to that is that you want everybody to be the same. That way you don't stick out for not having or not accomplishing something. That's what science, that's what the medical industry wants. The medical industry wants everybody to be the same.
But this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is even with that, if everybody is if I am really being me, then there is no way that I could even see a division to want to say that this person is above or below me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because listen to what I'm saying. If I have that thought, if I'm focused on that, if we bring the system down and we go on the other side, then the government that we brought down is still in the people.
Yeah.
It's going to manifest back to the same thing when we get on the other side of it. If I'm seeing it that way, then I'm going to hold the ideas of the government or whatever we claim to be doing this to us. I'm holding that in my heart. When it comes down, when I get on the other side, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to make a play for power.
Yeah.
Because I never accepted or I never worked on me.
That's why it's only so many people that have this understanding. It's always going to be a few people that are driven to have this even understanding or even to listen to something like this. You know, it's a very, life is a numbers game. And it's not a lot of numbers on this side of the aisle, if you're looking at it that way. So it's going to be a lot of people that refuse to unplug. If we said tomorrow, everyone, if you put down your cell phones and look up at the sky, you will be enlightened. Some people will not put down their cell phones for the enlightenment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they
Right.
would not have the value for it that some others might. And it'll
Right.
be very few. You could tell somebody the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but it will be beyond them because they have been handicapped to the point where their critical thought is out the window.
I don't think they've been handicapped, man.
I think the cell phone and the technology and the ability to get something easily is the handicap itself. Whereas the
I'm
hard
saying
work,
that is a handicap.
and it's been given
It
to us
is.
by people who will want us to have it. Like they'll give you all the candy you can eat, but they're gonna eat you later. It's just like the Wicked Witch. She's gonna give you all type of candy and everything, and she's gonna fulfill all of your needs. You can go online and you can go look at the porn. You can go get the answers to the test. These are handicaps. You
Right.
know, I'm just using the cell phone as a direct example because everybody on the fucking planet got a cell phone. Pretty
Right.
soon it's gonna be against the law for you not to have your cell phone with you. That's how much they
Right.
want you to be handicapped.
This is what
So
I'm saying. But people was handicapped before the cell phone.
not to this degree. There was
Always, it's
analog.
always been to this degree.
No. This is a very advanced time to be handicapped, bro. People used to have to read, and there was no instant communication.
But
So
there
the handicapping now
people was
is more
handicapped
extreme.
then.
Yes,
People
but not to
think
this
about it
extreme
when it
though.
was in dark ages when people was just regular scientists and the people would burn them at the stake.
But by and by, people in those days were smarter because everybody read. There was more, not everybody, but there was more time to think. You didn't have television distracting you. There weren't as many options. So you had to be good at something. So the farmers were more skilled because they wasn't like farming and then going to watch TV or some shit. They was farming and they was thinking about the next day to farm. So people were
Right.
by and by, there was less distractions. So
Right.
you could
But
potentially, there was more stars in the sky because there weren't so many lights in the city. Like there was
right.
more things of nature to bring you back to nature, to ground
Right.
you.
Right. But
So
what I'm
we're
saying
way
is
more distracted these days.
even in that, there was still the herd.
Yeah, I'm not knocking that. I agree that there was still the herd, but it was more likely that you can get people to get on board with shit. You know, it wasn't so people weren't so set in their ways because you were allowed so many benefits. You can go be set in any type of way, and there's a place for you.
Well, think about this. In those times, they had crusades, right? They had crusades where uh, religious groups inspired mobs, right?
Right. Those were all forms of control. The religions and
Right.
all that was developed to
This is what I'm
control
saying.
motherfuckers.
So it's always been this way.
Right. I'm not saying that it hasn't, but I'm saying that now it's more extreme.
I think it
There's
just
more
seems
people on
that
the
way,
planet.
man.
There's more people on the planet that could be manipulated, and there's more avenues to manipulate them, i.e., through the visual the black hole of the eyes and all the light that could be projected onto you. So whether you're in Bangkok, whether
Right.
you're in France, whether you're in America, there's more ways that it's more kids on the planet, so it's more souls to capture, and
Right.
it's more ways
But
to
here's
capture
the
those
thing,
souls. You know
like
what
you're
I'm saying?
saying,
Sacrificial lambs.
so at that time, it was easier to capture them. You didn't need a cell phone to capture them. Remember when they dropped that thing and they had the word of the world, War of the Worlds, and it was on the radio, and everybody thought aliens was coming or something. But yeah, they were thinking more, but they were also as gullible.
Yeah, that's not a different time, bro. That's the same fucking century, my nigga. You gonna have to go back to before there was even radio, bro.
I'm just saying. I'm
That's the
just saying.
same century, my nigga. So
Yeah,
everybody,
it is.
since the invention of technology itself,
It
that's
is.
when people were more easily manipulated. Not
So
before there was technology.
okay.
When
So
niggas was cowboys riding horses, they was
before
not
that,
easily manipulated.
before that, what was they listening to when people used to go to Broadway? It was Shakespeare, and these people wrote plays, and these plays the government had people write them.
Yeah, but everybody wasn't going to the plays, bro.
Yeah,
Now,
people were going.
nowadays,
I'm saying
it's
plays
sent to
and
your
stuff
phone. The
was
algorithm is recommending the
what I'm
shit to you
saying is this:
nowadays.
the TV is the play.
I understand that, but everybody got a TV now, but everybody didn't have a TV then. Everybody couldn't go to the play then. Some people didn't even know it was plays that existed because they was living their lives.
Right.
But
But I'm saying
now it's a global theme to where we're gonna put it on your phone. We're gonna put it in your face. So it's
right.
easier to manipulate now than it was then. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, in the communities, the people who were in power, or quote unquote the people who had the authority over the people who was just out farming, you had less people to manipulate, because if you manipulated the rich ones with the play, they would set in motion, right? And vote and do all they need to do to corral the community. And so the person out in the woods, I didn't have to manipulate him. When he came into town, the manipulation was already in place.
Nah, you looking at it all backwards, man. That's when we had revolutions. That's when the wars was breaking out. That's when the fucking the Constitution was written, because niggas wasn't falling for that bullshit. Nowadays, niggas is falling for the bullshit. You're not gonna tell me that back then because a rich. No. That's not how it worked. When niggas was in the woods, they wouldn't come to town. They farmed and took care of themselves. They were completely independent of the city or the town. They didn't need
Okay.
the town.
So this is what I'm saying. That's how TV and stuff came into play, through the plays.
That's what I'm saying. But
This
yeah,
is the original form of it.
I got it, bro. But that's not how this shit was manipulated, bro. Because
But that's
everybody wasn't
how this is.
exposed.
That's how it was. Okay, so
Everybody
if
wasn't
it
exposed
that
to
was
it
the
like they
that
are
but
now.
okay, but
There's more exposure now.
gradually it is what, if this is the things that, what I'm saying is, this is the inception of these things.
Nobody's arguing that those weren't the avenues in which they found out that they can control and manipulate, but they could not do it en masse until these
But
days.
they didn't have to, because you had to
Bro,
you could fool less people.
right. That's what they did. They fooled less people.
Less
You're right.
people was
They
the
could
more
they
people.
fooling a lot of people now. They fooled less
Those,
people
but
than
I'm saying those were the people in charge. So once you,
man. There
those
was
are the people
nobody in charge then. People were more
who set the
independent. People
laws.
farmed for themselves.
What I'm
People
saying is
did for
who,
themselves. People
right.
raised their own kids. They didn't even send their kids to school.
Okay,
It was
so
different
how
then.
did we get to the point to where we started voting?
Because societies came together in certain avenues to go against what was trying to control them. The shit started with the
Right,
taxation without
right,
representation.
right,
But that
right.
don't mean that they was
So
influencing those
what I'm
people. Those
saying
people
is,
wanted to continue to be independent.
this motif that we're talking about, if we tear it down, the people that came together to create it on the other side are going to do the same thing again.
Yeah, because them niggas refuse to unplug. They, like I said, if we said everybody put your cell phones down and come outside and look up in the sky, you'll be enlightened. A lot of people won't do it. They're gonna be like, man, I'm good. They not gonna do it. And
Right.
that's
And there
because
have
they
always been
understand the
those
science.
people from the beginning of time. The issue is, like we said before, when we talking about this, the majority of people are workers. The majority of us are workers. I'm a worker. it's best for me to understand what it is that I'm working on and for. But we don't do that anymore. We don't work on and for and towards something. We work on and for in rival to. The person next door to me got a better car than me. The person that's two houses, his house is bigger than mine. I can't be satisfied with me. I can't be satisfied with having a farm. I can't be satisfied with that. So this is what I'm saying. The same guy that's in the car crying, talking about it shouldn't be this way. He's saying that because he wants more money or something. He's not saying that because he want to get out there and go in, move into the jungle and start his own civilization.
Everything is intentional. They intentionally use marketing to show you that, oh, this woman's prettier than this, or this man is more handsome than this, or
This is what I'm
this
talking about. I'm
person has
talking
more
about the
money.
individual. This is what I'm saying.
Right.
So when we talking about indoctrination and education and development, that is extremely personal, because if you go outside those parameters, you're gonna get caught up in something that in a ghost.
People will try to use, people will feel powerless, and they will use what they consider to be their power function through voting or whatever to try to bring about crazy laws because they want shit to be equal. So just like I was listening the other day, this dude Trump, he was like, I'm rerunning for presidency. And one of the things that stood out to me in his little speech, I ain't listened to the whole thing, but I caught like a little piece of it, I think like the end of it. And he was saying that he's going to make all drug dealers face the death penalty. You see, it's those types of statements and that type of language where people will go past that. They'll want more crimes to have a heavier sentence, maybe even death. You know what I'm saying, for minor crimes, because that will equal everything out, and people won't go outside of the lines and have their own thoughts about shit. There won't be a revolution as easily because death will be the penalty. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So they're gonna try to keep people afraid of thinking critically about certain shit. You know what I mean? This is 1984 like a motherfucker.
Right. What I'm saying is, I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, if there is a revolution of some sort, of some kind, if you don't have the people ready to be who they are on the other side of it, it's what are you going to build?
Right. It has to come from, all you can do is inspire what it is, but it has to come from
Right.
within.
What I'm
It has
saying
to come
is,
from.
if I hate, if I'm like I'm saying the whole time, if I just hate the fact that I got to get up and go to work, then when that revolution happens or don't happen, or if it transpires or don't, then you're not going to want to be a farmer and get up and farm.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Grassroots. It needs to come from the bottom. It needs to come from the proper development of the youth through
Right,
proper mentoring. And all you can do is inspire. You might not live long enough to see the whole thing happen, but
right,
all you can do is inspire to a certain point to where you're satisfied with your contribution,
right,
because it has to be a
right,
personal thing,
right,
and you're born
right.
alone, you die
Because
alone.
this is what I'm saying. When I look at the government and I look at all of this stuff, when I turn on the internet, when I turn on the TV, when I turn on everything, it's only fear mongering. Everybody is talking about the government or Illuminati or this. It's it's impossible. It's impossible. This is impossible.
That's called learned helplessness. They
What
want
I'm
you to.
saying is, that's what I'm saying. This is impossible. But
Right. That's a
do,
true thing. Learned helplessness. That's
what
that's
I
what that is.
can do, what I can do is get up, look at myself and look at my surroundings, and work towards being better today, being better for my family, being better for those around me, because whatever happens or changes, I still need to be that person for those around me. That's
Yeah,
the
that's one
that's
way
the
of looking
only
at
way.
it.
That's the only way I can combat that.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
Because here's the thing: I may not be the leader of the free world, but if this thing falls apart, the leader of the free world going to need a soldier. If I can, I can't be the leader of the free world, but hey, maybe I can be the guy that organizes the logistics.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but still, like we said earlier, the king is just a representation of all the others in the kingdom.
Right,
So
right,
everybody has the potential to be the king or quote
right.
unquote the leader
So
of the free world.
now, if I do that, if I be a representation of the king can only emerge from me. But I'm being a representation of beat down and downtrodden. I'm being a representation of jealousy and hate.
Right.
So the only thing so jealousy, hate, envy, greed, those are our kings. Love,
Right. Because
compassion, empathy, those are not our kings. Those should be our kings.
I was reading in that book, Black Indians, and in that book it talked about how tribes would live in these citadels, these huts or these buildings, and it'd be 200-300 people in the building, and they all sleeping together. You know, you got families over here, you got kids, whatever. Everybody slept in the same building, and everybody was like the uncles and the aunts. So there was no separation. There was no like, oh, this the hut for the chief, this the hut for the warriors. It was none of that. It was a complete integration.
Right.
So when you look at it now and how
Can
things
we
are
can
now,
we get can how do we do that?
well, the thing is that I don't think that we go back to that. There has to be a detonation. You know, there has
But
to be.
what I'm saying is, even if we do that, when we get on the other side, we have to get to some sort of togetherness.
Right. That's what the detonation is, though. That's what the annihilation is, because annihilation is two complete forms coming together and destroying themselves. And then a whole new form comes out of that. So a
Mm-hmm.
third expression comes out of those two expressions colliding. So there
Right,
has to be a detonation or sudden explosion of whatever we thought this shit was or whatever we thought it was about to be.
right,
That's what a
right,
revolution is, a
right,
re-evolution. It's a re-beginning of all of it.
right,
So you can't go back to the citadels where everybody lived together. That's going to be an aspect of whatever it goes to next because it came from the initial explosion, but there was an explosion. There was an
right,
annihilation. There was a complete destruction of the old way, and there's going to be an introduction of a new way, a
right,
new beginning of a
right,
development, a
right.
new expression.
This is what I'm saying. We need a complete destruction of even the thought of what it was,
Yeah, that's what that is.
you know?
And
Because yeah, yeah, go
that's
ahead.
what these world wars are, because they're controlled annihilations, but they never can get it all. It's never a true, complete annihilation. These are controlled annihilations that they try to banter people into with these narratives using the television, using the news media, which is highly, highly scripted, highly perfected drama narrations that's given to the people. They're given to you in the way that they want you to have them. So therefore, your development is not there because they're telling you what to think through the television and all these other avenues, through your phone. They're telling you what to think. You know, as soon as you look up something, you're seeing commercials for it. So it's all in line. There's no critical objections to anything. And that's what they want. So then when they bring on this quote unquote annihilation, it's not going to be world affecting. It's only going to affect the people that's involved, you know? And America is such a small piece of the pie compared to the rest of the globe. We don't realize it though, because we're the world reserve currency and all this blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking about it from the American perspective because that's what I am and that's where we at. But the
Right,
thing is that whatever type of precipice that we're headed for. You know what I'm saying? How you say the fear mongering and all that other shit. I really don't have time to pay attention to. I definitely pay attention to things, but I don't have time to let it control what the fuck I'm doing in the meanwhile. All I can do is get more adept at getting to the things that is going to make me prosper on the other side of this shit, under
Right.
whatever science that they
That's
try to put us under.
that's what I'm saying right now. I'm saying the quantum that I can do, right? The thing that I can do, because the thing that I'm going to need to be whenever whatever happens is I need to be resound within myself. I need to be me through and through. I don't need to see what I do as the entirety of me. I need to be what I am to the entirety of me. And like you said, that means I need to educate myself
No,
on
you need to
me.
develop yourself.
I need to educate myself on me. I need to indoctrinate myself on me.
I'm a personally develop myself. I'm not gonna educate
And
myself. I'm gonna develop myself.
I need to develop myself on me. I need to educate myself on me. I need to know my tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know the things I will and won't do. I need to know things that I do unbeknownst to me. I need to know those things. So if I don't know them, I can't develop them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to educate myself on me.
Yeah, and you should be able to see yourself in others, and then whatever pathologies that they are
Right,
displaying could potentially be yours as well too. So
right,
then you can. That's what you, because you'll never be able to see yourself in as many ways as you would like to, but you need
right,
to be able to see yourself in others and then analyze what, not in a judgmental way, but in a, a way that helps you scientifically and critically analyze how you would be.
right, right. That's what I'm
You
saying.
know,
That's self-education. That's me looking at this person and seeing me in there. Now I can educate myself on me through you. I
yeah,
educate
I'm more
myself.
leaning to that
I educate
development.
myself through you all the time. This whole
Yeah,
conversation is educating me through you.
yeah, yeah.
Now I take what we've done together and part that, right? Now I develop that,
Right.
right? Now I develop that. And then on my daily routine, I create some type of indoctrination I can follow. You know what I'm saying?
Or
Some,
you create a doctrine that you can follow.
right, right. Doctrine, right? So something that I always look at for me, this is something that I always, when I sit down, I got what I call I don't know, the three P's or whatever you want to call them, but I call it prepare, program, and promote. Prepare is the study, program is the change, and promote is willpower, right? So I prepare myself, I program myself, and then I promote what I program, right? I know I can do this. So even more so if I haven't done it, but I know I can do it, my promotion of it is going to put me in a position to do what I prepared to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
first, I got to educate myself on me to know my weaknesses, my strengths, my abilities, my inabilities, right? Because those are the only things I'm going to carry with me, period. And not like you said, as things go, time change. I'm not gonna carry my cell phone with me. I'm not gonna carry my TV with me. I'm gonna carry my ability to function with me,
Right.
right? And that's where our initial premise comes in at love. Learning orchestrates vital evolution, valuable evolution, right?
Yeah, there's an art to rebellion.
Right, right, right. Right. So like they say, me learning and growing and development, that is my act of rebellion. That is my act of defiance.
Rebels and devils.
Right. That is my act of defiance. Me having this conversation with you is my act of defiance. Right?
Mm-hmm.
For us to have this and say that and see things differently and then come back and see things equally.
Yeah, we have to detrude the semantics that they kick to us. We have to
Right.
create our own version of
Right.
semantics
Right.
that's what that lexicological
Right.
alchemy is. It's an
Right.
alchemical process of using semantics to initiate ourselves.
Right. Right. But look, like we say at this point in time, whatever we do, we're gonna have to stand by our work, brother.
Always on time.
Right on. Appreciate your help, brother.
Yeah, thanks for listening.